Hello friends, it's Laura from Cool Mom and Collected, and in today's video, we are talking all about composer study. I did how we did artist studies, which I'll link down below right here. Composer study is pretty similar. Composer study is basically where you expose your children to different composers and their different pieces in order to give them a love and a relationship with music. I'm a homeschool mom of 5 under 8, and we do a Charlotte Mason homeschool philosophy through Ambleside Online. Now, if you're a new homeschool mom like I am, I'm in my second year of homeschooling, I get it. It can be really overwhelming, especially with Charlotte Mason philosophy. I like to make these things a little bit more practical. What I'm about to show you guys today is not aesthetic, but it's very effective, and I hope that it can encourage you guys to not shy away from the less aesthetic but very effective ways of teaching your child. Our TBG book, which is our Truth, Beauty, Goodness book. I got this when I joined the CMEC my first year. Now we're with Ambleside. I got this from Riverbend Press, and it is something that they recommend having because it is a beautiful keepsake of your child's work for artist study, composer study, music, poetry, and scripture. It also comes with this getting to know your TBG notebook when you buy it. So I love that because it kind of shows you what pages you should start artist study on, composer study on. It basically shows you how to separate your book in a really effective way so that you can get a lot of use out of it. With the CMEC or with Ambleside, it's pretty much the same across the Charlotte Mason board. You will typically study 3 composers a year. That's 3 composers, 6 pieces for each composer. You'll eventually, at the end of the year, have 18 pieces that your child has learned from the composers total. There are 3 terms. So in one term, we study 1 composer with their 6 musical pieces. The second term, we study another composer with their 6 musical pieces. And the third term, we study another musical composer with their 6 pieces. You might be wondering, how do I know which composer to do? Well, it's easy. You can do whatever composer you choose. I like having the guide, so I study with Ambleside Online. You guys can go to their website, which I'll show you right here. You can go to the year your student is in, to the music section, and then you can go to the Ambleside Online Composer Study Rotation, which is pretty cool because you can see all of the composers. You can click on any composer, and then you can literally see mapped out for you with YouTube videos each composer's 6 pieces that you will be able to study. This has been excellent. You want to study Beethoven? Sure, you can go on Amazon and you can purchase an awesome book about Beethoven's life to kind of expose your child a little, or you can go to a thrift store and find a book, a thrifted book on that composer, or like I do, you can go to Ambleside Online. Go straight to Ambleside Online, go to their composer study, jump down to classical music resources, books about composers, suggestions for more music, and you'll see a lot of these options are free for your convenience. Now that you know what a composer study is, how many composer studies to do a year, where to find the composers, we're going to go into exactly how I do it. This year we're doing Frederick Chopin.
Are you or someone you know a victim of false pronunciation due to movies like It Takes Two by the Olsen twins? Has it affected your credibility? If so, you may be due for compensation.
For term 3, they provide you with different Amazon option books as well as a free ebook for younger students. So I can literally click here and see Chopin, The Boy Who Made Beautiful Melodies by Thomas Tapper, and we could start reading away. You can also go to the Classic for Kids past shows, which I love. This is a website. I'll scroll down so you can see not only does it have these wonderful artists for you to click on, but those artists come with audio that your children can listen to learn a little bit more about them, give you a lesson plan for free. I mean, I love Ambleside Online, but you don't need to just do Ambleside. If you're doing something now and you just want to do art composer studies with Ambleside, hop on board, guys. It's free. So when doing composer study, I obviously have my Truth, Beauty, Goodness notebook. I have that opened up to the section where we do composer studies. I will likely get either a drink, maybe it could be a tea and a little snack, or like to give them something to nibble on while we're listening to the music, because I think that that associates a positive experience with composer study. It's not like, composer study and then we get to eat read. Oh, okay, Mom, is it done yet? Is it done yet? It's like, hey guys, it's composer study. Let's get our little snacks. Let's cuddle up on the couch, or let's sit at the table and let's get into it. You know, it just makes things a little bit more exciting. Let's just pretend that we're starting from scratch and it's your first composer study. I will introduce the composer to the children. In my book, I will show you guys, like right here, we have Ludwig van Beethoven. Okay, this is year 2. I will put the person's name, the composer's name, across the top. We'll get the day they were born to the day they died, and we'll get what period they are in. So Ludwig van Beethoven was in the classical romantic music. This may not mean anything to your child just yet, but it's going to start getting these different periods fresh into their minds. Once we do that, and I kind of lay the foundation of the name of the artist, you can also have a picture that you can print. You can even show them on your phone. Your kid's gonna learn just the same. Show them the picture of Ludwig van Beethoven, and you guys can start to read from any of those resources that I just mentioned is possible. As you're reading, you're gonna do narration. And if you guys don't know what narration is, I have a video right here. I will link down below. You guys can check that out. Narration is basically when you are reading to your child and then they are going to tell you what they know about what you just read. So you can learn all about narration right there. It's really great for just helping children to become more eloquent. It's great for helping them to cement thoughts. Some of the things after I read with my child that my child had said back to me was, Beethoven was born in Bonn, Germany in 1770. His house is now a museum and everything he used to play with is in there. His father was not a very good father because he was very lazy and he did not work hard for his family. His mommy loved him. By the way, this child that's doing this is 7 years old. When he was 4 years old, he started to study music. He was forced to play piano and violin after he turned 13. He didn't go to school. So not only is this in my children's words, and I'm not pressuring them, forcing them to say more, I really want to get the sincerity and the genuineness of what they remember. I'm writing it down, and this might look like a lot, guys. Look how much is here. But this is how much over the course of one term, which is 10 weeks. That's what we covered on him. So before you look at this and say, my kid's not going to be able to say all this in one reading, don't worry. It wasn't one reading. It was probably 6 readings, 7 readings, something like that. You might want to get like 2 takeaways. You don't want to overwhelm the kid where they're, annoyed with composer study. Have them just naturally tell you what they learned. Before you know it, your child is paying attention to when was he born? What was his house like? What was his family life like? What was the first instrument that he played? And it's very interesting because then your kids may notice, hey, he started with piano. He plays a lot of piano in all of these songs we're listening to. Next, it's time to put your first song. And so, as you guys can see, we put Symphony number 5 in C minor. We put the date that it was written, and now listen to the piece. You can talk about it. What I do is I write down the things that my child says from listening to the piece. And maybe because we had done this for a while, they already knew how to start conversating. But you can ask questions while you're listening to the piece. You could say, what instruments do you hear? And so, for instance, my son said, I hear trumpets, violins, big trumpets, horns, cymbals, shofars, I think. Eventually, they will be able to conversate on their own because you will have done these leading questions so often. They will hear a song and say, oh, I hear this instrument. Or if this music was happening during a movie, what do you think would be happening? I love that question. And he said, it sounds like a policeman chasing a thief. There's a lot of people playing. Now, these are things my son is saying, but you can ask, because I've done this in the past, does it sound like a few people are playing or a lot of people are playing? You can ask them, how does a song make you feel? And my son said, listening to the song makes me want to play hot cross buns on the piano. That's awesome. Then you can just write down the random things they say completely unprompted, like, Mom, I like that part. It was like doo-doo-doo on the piano. These kinds of things are wonderful. You're writing them down while your child is saying them. And the cool thing about composer study is it's as easy as that. I know you guys are probably like, what? That? Like, is that even doing anything? Yes. Your child is starting to form a relationship with music. So they're learning about composers. They're hearing the music. They're noticing different instruments, which is really impressive. They're able to describe how it makes them feel. So they're creating a relationship with it. For instance, if something feels really exciting to them and they're watching a show one day and they hear that music, or they're at a fair and they hear someone playing that music, or at the library and they hear a classical band playing that music, they're going to have an instant connection and a reminder that they love music. It's that simple. That was a composer study. Now, the thing is, of course, I took maybe 15 minutes to do a music study. That's all, the composer study. That's all it took. However, the goal isn't for me to solely play that music during composer study. Now I have the opportunity to play that music in the car. We play that music on the way to play dates. We play that music when we're baking in the morning. We play that music during our artist study. And we talk about it. My kids will literally be like, Mom, can we listen to Symphony number 5 in D minor or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, wow, they actually want to listen to it. Ways that you want to keep this going now is you want to listen to it any chance that you get. You want to talk about it. Like, what's your favorite part? This part, the do, the really fast part, that's my favorite part. What's yours? This is all we want, guys. We're talking about beautiful things with our children. Now, I want to say there is a way to level up or level down this composer study. For instance, if you wanted to level down the composer study, you could really read very little of the biography of your composer, even just go straight to the compositions itself. Another thing that you can do is start getting into music composition. For instance, something that we've done just naturally in our second year of doing composer study is, Mom, what's a symphony? That's a great question. Let's look it up. Symphony is an orchestra. So just to give you guys an idea, I'll write right above symphony, I'll write orchestra. Just something that we can, look back on. It doesn't need to be fancy. Or when we did a string quartet, we said, what do you think quartet could be? Like quartet. Kind of sounds like in Spanish, cuatro, quartet. What do you think? 4. You're right. And guess what? A quartet is 4 people playing. What's a sonata? So that's a way you can level up. Something really, really cool that blew my mind the other day. We're currently in Chopin right now, Frederick Chopin. And if you guys think I knew anything about any of these people prior to teaching my kids, I had no clue. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm learning. We studied piano concerto in F minor. It was hilarious because when I asked my son, what do you think this is called? He literally said, maybe it's called The Pianist in D major, Piano Symphony -2. Okay, this is hilarious because what does that even mean? Piano Symphony -2. He's probably thinking, C minor or whatever, but whatever he's thinking, it's amazing. And then before he leaves, he goes, by the way, Mom, I think allegro means fast. I think it's an Italian word. And he ran away. And in my heart was just like, oh my gosh, that's adorable. Like, wait a minute, what does allegro mean? I was like, I have no idea what allegro even means. So I looked it up, an Italian term. It is an Italian term meaning cheerful or lively and indicates a fast tempo for a musical piece. I called my son over and I'm like, how did you know that? He's like, I don't know, just listening to the different pieces. And, we've been talking about it. So guys, it's working. It's very exciting. I'm going to give you a look into our composer study. I didn't have all this figured out from the beginning of what worked well for us. I might have had higher standards, if I'm honest, for when I first started this. But then I realized I'm seeing a lot of fruit from learning about each composer, listening to their music, noticing the different instruments, noticing how it makes us feel, noticing maybe the background, like we can get into, let's look into why he even wrote this piece. You can learn a lot about the composers by, what motivated them to write these pieces. But the beauty is you can really mold this to your child's age from 6 years old on. You guys can mold it. And there's just so much beauty in having a book that has these blank pages that you can do what's best for your child. If I'm honest, guys, I almost didn't want to do a composer study because I'm like, it's just plain, it's not as exciting as my artist studies where we have a lot of exciting things going on and a lot of beauty, but don't go for aesthetic, go for effective. Something that I want to do in composer study that I might want to add on is, I know that what we've been doing is a lot of writing, but you can also do drawn narrations. For instance, if you learn about a composer and your kid is like, can I draw a picture of Beethoven? Yeah, sure. Let them do it. That's great. If they say, oh, can I draw a piano? Since there's a piano, yeah, let them draw it. It doesn't just have to be, written narration. Get those kids interested. This is something thrifted. I believe it would be Charlotte Mason approved, but honestly, who cares? I just think that this is a great resource. I'm going to link this down below along with any other items that I may have mentioned and any other resources. But this is a really cool book. It's called The Story of the Orchestra by Robert Levine, and it actually comes with a CD so that as you're learning about different orchestra pieces, you can actually, in the car or at home, if you have a CD player, you can play those pieces for your children. This could be a toned down composer study, but I also think because it goes through things like the composers, the different periods, the Baroque period, the classical music era, the Romantic era, the modern era. The part 2 of this book has the orchestra instruments, string section, woodwind section, brass section, percussion section, keyboard instrument, and then it talks about the conductor. I think that this book could just be an awesome go-to. For instance, oh, we're studying Beethoven in the classical music period. Well, guess what? You could literally use this, and I actually think I'm going to do that moving forward. I wasn't utilizing this, but I thrifted it. You guys can do the same. And look, here it is. It has about Beethoven. It has the year he was born. It's an example of how you guys can thrift a book and kind of utilize it in talking about your different composers. We do composer study once a week. And I mentioned this in my artist study video. We do composer study, artist study, all on the one day of the week that we have kind of our outside day. For me, putting composer study in the middle of math, reading, piano, this, that, it was very overwhelming for me. When I kind of ordained one day of my week for, okay, this is my outside day, this is my artist study day, composer study day, outside day, let's get it. When I did that, our composer studies became more fruitful because they weren't being rushed. It wasn't like, okay, guys, come on. This is getting too much. We need to move on. I recommend if your composer studies are feeling rushed, ordain one day for like artist study, composer study, nature study outside. Like just a day that has a lot more freedom than kind of trying to squeeze all of these really beautiful studies into all of these other subjects where they're kind of getting lost and rushed. Although you're learning about the composer and the piece for maybe a total of 15 or 20 minutes, you are listening to their music and discussing it in natural ways all throughout the week. And each week that you do talk about your composer and you talk about the new musical piece or the same musical piece, I also want to remind you guys, do a little bit of review before. So for instance, you could say, okay guys, week 2 of composer study, what do you guys remember from last week? You know, whatever comes to them. It could be like a little minor detail, whatever. You just want to get them talking and you can share and remind them about the things that happened in a very pleasant way. And then, you know, same with, oh, does anyone remember what piece we learned last week? We're going to listen to it again, but what do you remember about the piece? It's always good, I find, with narration and with just coming back to setting the foundation before we add more. So you don't want to just teach your kids this, lay down a foundation, and then a week goes, the foundation kind of breaks, and then you're building. You want to reestablish that foundation of what you learned last week each time and build and build and build. This is one of my big things in homeschool. So if you didn't see the artist study video, I want to say it again. My goal with composer study and with school in general is to not to kill the love of learning. So the way we can kill the joy of composer study or the joy of learning is by not being satisfied with our children's answers. Say you ask a question and they don't give you the answer that you want them to give, or say you ask them how something makes them feel and they keep saying happy and you want something else. This is where you need to take a deep breath. You need to calm down. For the over-expectant parent, trust the process. And, you know, sure, you could say, you know, if you're getting a little frustrated, sure, you can say happy. Well, you know what? I want to challenge you to use a different word except for happy. I mean, think about this music. What is it? What does it sound like? Is there a word other than happy that you can use to describe? I kind of want to just encourage you moms is that the way we're going to kind of kill composer study for our children is by basically communicating to them that they're not doing a good enough job, that they don't understand, they're not trying hard enough. These are the things we want to avoid. We want to praise and encourage them for their thoughts and for their takeaways and respect the process of learning that they're having, and just be satisfied with the time it takes for them to really grasp certain things. Just a piece of mommy to mommy advice. I would tell any of my friends this, just to encourage them. Enjoy the process. One child might be really quick and the other child might not be as quick. Enjoy the process. Find the beauty. Similar to artist study, which you guys should watch that video because they really go hand in hand. It's kind of the same deal. If you have multiple children, You can do a composer study with multiple children. I have all 5 of my children sit around the table, and as we're listening, I might start from the youngest if they want to get involved. I really don't push any of my children to give me their feedback until they get into age 6, because again, chances are if little kids are seeing their older siblings involved, they're going to want to get involved anyway. So I don't have this expectation of my children under 6 to be doing narrating, to be doing artist study. No. I don't want the joy to die before it can start. For instance, they might start and then be like, actually, I don't want to do this, Mom, because they don't have the stamina to sit during a whole song or whatnot. So sometimes we have to tell them, when you're 6, you can start doing composer study too, if we find that getting them involved too early is going to be an issue. But what I will still do is have them listen to the music, and if they want to share what they think about it, like say you have someone that really wants to get involved but they're not 6 yet, you could, since 6 is kind of the standard for Charlotte Mason starting school, you could allow them to share. If you have, say, 2 students that are close together and they both are doing composer study, you can listen to the younger person first and have sort of a rule where the older person cannot repeat what the younger person already said. So it kind of gives the older kids this incentive to make sure that they're listening to what their younger siblings are saying, because they can't repeat what they say. And it also just gives them an incentive to contribute in a positive way. If you guys do watch my narration and my artist study videos, I will say that I think that all 3 of these kind of go hand in hand, since narration is being used in all. So check those videos out if you want. Like and subscribe if you want to see this kind of homeschool content. And thank you guys so much for being here. I hope that you thrive in your composer study. You guys can do it. It's not as hard as you think. I will see you later. Stay cool, calm, and collected, and bye.